18 counts in 2009.
What would he be accused of?
The crime that he was indicted for was falsifying the records of the New York banks and a conspiracy.
The indictment states, from November 2006 through September 2008, Limpt sent and received dozens of illegal payments through U.S. banks by using aliases and shell companies. Morgenthau's investigation also revealed Limpt used its aliases to continue sending banned missile, nuclear, and so-called dual-use materials to subsidiary organizations of the DIO, the Iranian Defense Industries Organization. Called before the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, Morgenthau provided details of the deadly shipments.
One, the international money movement, hiding the sources of that money, and two, the people who are providing Iran through dummy companies with the material for long-range missiles and nuclear weapons.
Here's how the scheme allegedly worked. Prosecutors say Li Fengwei opened so-called dummy corporations, wholly owned by Limpt.
They used 6 dummy corporations. The Iranian used 4.
These companies then traded in banned materials, such as 1,700 kilos of graphite cylinders. Gary Milholland is director of the Wisconsin Project on Nuclear Arms Control.
Well, they're important because it increases Iran's ability to produce centrifuges.
Papers show one of Mr. Li's companies, Liang Industry Trade Company, shipped the cylinders to an Iranian importer called Aband Industrial.
Aband Industrial shares an address with a known front company for the Aerospace Industries Organization, Iran's main missile manufacturer.
Morgenthau testified about additional shipments.
There were gyroscopes, accelerometers, armor-piercing tantalum, 24,500 kilograms of miraging steel rod.
Today, Li Fengwei is a fugitive from U.S. justice. The Chinese have ignored U.S. requests to turn him over. The Chinese embassy wrote this to Fox News about Mr. Li. Allegations of China taking inaction on export controls are totally unfounded and ridiculous. And China attaches great importance to the various cases of sensitive items that involve the guy and his company in question, and has been in contact with the United States government.
How many Li Fengweis are out there?
I would guess hundreds. I mean, Iran's not the only customer.
There's more on Iran's nuclear secrets when we return.
In September 2009, the world got a nuclear wake-up call.
The Islamic Republic of Iran has been building a covert uranium enrichment facility near Qom for several years.
This is the location that worries the U.S., Great Britain, and France. A secret site hidden deep in a mountain.
This is a satellite image from January of 2009, and it shows the Qom uranium enrichment construction site in Iran. As you can see here and here, these are the tunnel entrances.
This is what it looks like today. There has been a doubling of the security perimeter wall, and experts say it is too small for any known civilian nuclear energy use.
Our conclusion is that this has one purpose, which is as part of the nuclear weapon effort.
Qom is only one of many secret nuclear sites in Iran.
Natanz is a site that started as a 70-foot deep hole. It's a very large facility.
Paul Brannan shows us how Natanz was hidden and heavily fortified.
This is a satellite image from 2002, seen here under construction. You can see these two squares right here would be the site of the gas centrifuge uranium enrichment halls. You can actually see that they're covering the two facilities with what looks like concrete and dirt. This is an image from 2003. You can see that they've been covered over more with dirt. This is an image from 2004, and you can see that the two underground enrichment plants have all but disappeared. They've been covered over with dirt.
Though hidden, Iran is quite proud of the site. Here is President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad touring Natanz in 2008.
Why, if your intentions are peaceful, why do you build something underground?
The United Nations has expressed concern about 40 nuclear-related sites in Iran. And experts say satellite evidence suggests that Iran is trying to create a full production line for nuclear weapons.
Here is where it all begins, the uranium mines at Gashin.
Gashin is the place where Iran now is able to mine its own high-quality uranium ore. And they showed pictures of the ore being milled into the yellow cake, this yellow powder that the ore is in before it is shipped off to Isfahan for the uranium conversion.
Isfahan is a key link in the chain of nuclear production in Iran.
It's at this plant that Iran is making the feedstock for its centrifuges. The mined uranium arrives at Isfahan. It's converted into uranium hexafluoride, and then that uranium hexafluoride is transferred to Natanz and put through the centrifuges at Natanz to produce enriched uranium.
In June, Faridun Abbasi, the scientist appointed head of Iran's nuclear program after escaping assassination, declared that Iran would move production of enriched uranium to Qom and triple the output. And many experts believe that Qom is just the tip of the iceberg.
You would assume that Iran would have a number of plants around the country doing the same thing.
Part of an archipelago of secret sites stretching across the country.
I think we're definitely going to find other sites.
The Iranian nuclear power will not just destabilize the whole Middle East, it will change the geopolitical landscape of the region.
When we come back, the world was wrong about Iraq's nuclear weapons status, why we cannot afford to make that mistake with Iran. Stay tuned.
Tensions are rising over Iran's nuclear program, but critics say, remember Iraq. The critics have a point. In the run-up to the 2003 Iraq War, we were told repeatedly of strong evidence that Iraq was pursuing nuclear weapons.
In the 80s, there really were nuclear facilities. There really were secret nuclear weapons programs.
But those programs fell apart after the 1991 Gulf War and the strict sanctions imposed on Saddam Hussein's regime.
Iraq did not have a nuclear weapons program. It had not been able to reconstitute.
By 2003, the Iraqi nuclear program was in ruins. But if there were no WMD in Iraq in 2003, why didn't Saddam Hussein just admit it and perhaps avoid the war? The answer takes us back to Iran. FBI Special Agent George Pirro was the chief interrogator of the Iraqi dictator following his capture.
Well, it was approximately 7 months of everyday interaction. Some days 1 to 2 hours, some days 5 to 7 hours.
Pirro says Saddam was obsessed with Iran.
For him, Iran was going to be that long-term threat, and a lot of his action had to be in response to that threat.
Fearing Iran, Saddam would not admit his WMD programs were gone.
He perceived himself to be in a much weaker position. He didn't want anyone to know that.
With Iraq running up to the 2003 war, people were looking into the vacuum and making up things. People were chasing ghosts.
But what about Iran? Could the world be chasing ghosts there as well?
How is Iran's situation, its nuclear program, different than what we were told about Iraq's?
It's very different what happened in Iraq. Iran has an active uranium enrichment program. Saddam was only claimed to have it, but here we have a hard evidence.
The United States government and its allies impose various kinds of pressures on other members of the IAEA, failing to provide even a single credible proof to substantiate their allegations.
There's lots of credible proof that Iran is going for the bomb. The evidence is quite ample.
A.Q. Khan, Mohsen Fakhrizadeh, Li Fangwei, uranium metal and triggers, the laptop documents, Natanz, Qom, and Isfahan.
There are so many pieces of evidence that point to a military connection with Iran's program. For Ahmadinejad to say there's not a single one, it just begs credibility.
It's very dangerous. The Iranian nuclear weapon program is a serious threat to U.S. security interests.
Iran remains adamant that its nuclear program is for peaceful civilian use only. But without a full inspection by the IAEA, few believe them. The point of the current UN sanctions is to force Iran to stop enriching uranium and allow the inspectors back in the country. In this program, you have seen some revealing evidence about the state of Iran's nuclear program. For more, go to foxnews.com and foxnewsinsider.com. Until then, I'm Bill Hemmer. Thank you